morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's Early Childhood Public Lecture Series organized by the Singapore University of Social Sciences. My name is Sirene Lim, and I am an Early Childhood faculty member at SUSS. So we started this lecture series in 2023, and we took a break last year. We started this in 2022 and we took a break last year in 23 to organize an in-person early childhood education conference and some other events. So this year we are back with this online series featuring both local and overseas academics and researchers. So before I introduce this morning's presenters, I'd like to remind everybody to have their microphones switched off during the presentation. And we will have time for questions and comments and some interaction at the end of the presentation. I would encourage everyone to be able to interact with our presenters by switching on your microphones at the end rather than typing in the chat box if possible. Okay, so this morning we have colleagues from the National University of Singapore, Professor Yeung, and her colleagues Ding Xiaopan and Biyue joining us in this presentation. And it's a very interesting topic from the SG Leads data. And it is about the link between hours or quantity of center-based childcare with children's development, in particular, their externalizing behaviors, which is a topic that has been researched around the world and is rather controversial in nature because it is not so simple to find a direct link or association sometimes when childcare centers and settings are so complex. But what is exciting is that this is evidence from Singapore data. So I do expect some of you to get really interested and to be able to interact with our presenters at the end. So without further ado, I'll invite our presenters to start their presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sirene. Thanks for the very good introduction. I feel I did make the topic very engaging. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Biyue. I'm currently a PhD student from National University of Singapore, and this work this research on childcare and child development is part of the Singapore Longitudinal Early Development Study, shortened as SG Leads. And this work is co-authored by Prof Ding from AUS and Prof Yeung from A-Star. They are also in the Zoom meeting. So later at the end of this presentation, if you have any questions, you can ask any of us and we can discuss all together. Okay, I will get started now. First, I want to give you a brief background of the early childhood education. More women start to join the labor force in 1990s, and this has also given rise to an increased use of ECE. And it has become very popular now. Based on the OECD data, you can see that more than 90% of the 4-year-olds in most of the OECD countries are currently enrolled in center cares. And nowadays, if both of the child's parents work long hours, they can stay very long in center care. And this has raised a very practical question. Could long hours cause problems in children? And how long is really good for them? And this research hopes to provide some insights to this question. First, I want to talk about how ECE could contribute to children's development from several theoretical perspectives. First one, I want to talk about the attachment theory. So attachment theory posits secure attachment with caregivers can benefit children in both social and cognitive development. You can take a look at the infographic here. So well-trained caregivers or educators at childcare centers, they can serve as the attachment figure and also a secure base for children. It helps to boost their confidence to explore the environment. When they get hurt or when they have bad experiences all said, they will know they can always go back to the caregiver for comfort. So the caregiver can serve as a secure base for them. And this helps children with their both social, emotional, and cognitive development. Next, I want to talk about the cognitive development theories. First, the Piaget posits that peer interaction can facilitate cognitive development. And in childcare centers, children have ample opportunity to interact with their peers, and they can learn from peers. Also, ECE provide structured learning for them. We have well-trained educators who understand their developmental stage and so can scaffold them to learn better by structuring the learning to suit their current developmental needs. However, ECE could cause some problems, especially when it causes excessive stress in children. Based on the stress theory, children's cognitive functioning respond to stress in an inverted U-shaped pattern. Mild to moderate stress is beneficial to their development of executive functioning, which is a higher order cognitive functioning. But excessive stress can overstimulate them and cause maladaptive outcomes in children. And there are some ECE-related stressors, such as children experience separation from parents, especially if they cannot establish a secure attachment with the caregiver. They can experience severe separation anxiety, and this is not very good for them. Also, this can be the first time children get into the group life. They need to spend time with a large group of children, which can be quite stressful as well. In summary, based on the attachment, cognitive development, and stress theory, we know ECE can be beneficial to them, but can also carry risk if the children are very stressed. Now I want to, after knowing the theories, I want to walk you through some empirical findings on what we have known for the ECE and children's development so far. So I will talk about the behavior problem first, because I guess this is the question most of us are very interested in. The first series of studies was conducted by Bursky in 1986, and Bursky raised concern that more than 20 hours per week can link to behavior problems. But this research is criticized for not considering childcare quality. So they will argue it's not because of the childcare use, but because of poor quality of childcare that cause more problems in children. Then in 1991, NICHD has launched the childcare study to investigate this issue. And they found after controlling for quality, there are still more problems linked with more hours in childcare. However, a more recent analysis using more stringent and different data analysis techniques found very mixed results. So those studies are based on the US context. So in the US, we already see mixed results about the childcare and externalizing problems. Outside the US, there are some countries found the positive link, like in Australia, France, and Germany, they found more hours linked to more behavior problems. But in Canada, they found more hours linked to fewer problems. In Norway, no effect has been found. And a very recent meta-analysis reported no association using data from 5 countries. So it's still very unsure how hours are linked to behavior problems. And most of the studies are conducted in weird countries, Western countries. And there are very limited studies in non-weird cultures. I have only been able to find 2 studies on this topic. One is conducted by Rao et al., and they found more hours associated with more behavior problems in Cambodia and China. However, no association was found in Vanuatu. Vanuatu is an island country near Australia. One study by Li et al. Found more hours associated with more problems in China. So we can see the studies from non-weird cultures are quite consistent with weird cultures that we either found positive association or we found no association. Then we move on to talk a bit about how ECE can impact children's cognitive development. In the weird cultures, the ECE intervention programs has been found to enhance academic achievement, especially for children from low-income families. And more hours has been found to be associated with better cognitive skills in the US and France. However, one study conducted in the US noted that when hours exceed 30 hours per week, more hours can carry risks and negatively influence their cognitive skills. In the non-weird cultures, we also found the very good, desirable results for ECE, that is more hours linked to better cognitive skills in China, Cambodia, and Mongolia. So the results from non-weird cultures are quite consistent with weird cultures. That is, more hours is generally very good for children with regard to their cognitive development. But more than 30 hours per week could possibly backfire and negatively impact their cognitive functioning. Okay, then how about ECE in Singapore? Let's take some time to understand the local context first. Here, our parents work very long hours. This is a plot I get from our world data. And this data is based on 2019. And we can see Singapore is an outlier here at the upper right corner. Singapore is a country with very high GDP. Similar to the US, Switzerland, Netherlands, Canada. However, our working hours is very long. In fact, Singapore ranked first in terms of the working hours among all the developed countries. So these long working hours can lead to very long ECE hours. And I have some data to show here. The Singapore data is based on the SG Leads data, and the US data is based on one panel survey. This is the most recent data I can find for the US. So this data shows in the US for children with employed mothers, they spend 33 hours per week in center. However, in Singapore, we see children with employed mothers spend 45 hours per week, which is significantly more than the US children, even though US has already been considered as a heavy user of ECE as compared to other European countries. So we can know like our children really stay very long here in the centers. Okay, I have a pie chart to show the breakdown of hours children stay in centers. This pie chart is very striking because we can see majority of the children stay more than 40 hours per week in centers, which means they stay more than 8 hours per day in centers. And there are even 37% of them stay more than 50 hours. And some of them may stay from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because their parents, both their parents need to work very long. So this research, we want to investigate the association between ECE hours and children's behavioral and cognitive development in a non-weird culture with children spending prolonged hours per week in ECE centers. We have two hypotheses. First, we hypothesize moderate hours spent in ECE centers would not be associated with behavior problems, but when the hours exceed the threshold, more hours would be associated with more behavior problems. Secondly, we hypothesize there is an inverted U-shaped pattern between ECE hours and early academic achievement. And now I will move on to the method part for this research. We drew data from SG Leads Wave 1. And SG Leads is a national representative sample of 5,021 Singaporean children under 7. For this specific study, we focus on 3-year-olds and above because behavior problems and early academic achievement were only assessed on those children over 3 years old. And we found only 4% of them were not enrolled in ECE programs. That is only 122 of them not in ECE. Here I will show the breakdown pie chart of the age and ethnicity distribution of the two groups of the children. And this shows that majority of non-attendees are younger children, they are 3-year-olds. And for ethnicity, we found among the 122 non-attendees, 51% of them are Malay children. And this could be because some Malay families may send their children to religious schools rather than the Euro ECE centers. Okay, then I will talk the measures I use in this study. For ECE measures, I include whether children are attending ECE or not, and how many hours they stay in the center. And I also have 2 ECE covariates. One is the total month they have been staying in the current ECE center, and the operator type. I code the operator into 2 types. One is the regular and one is the private and semi-private. For the regular ECE, I include the MOE kindergartens and anchor operator scheme. And private will be partner operator scheme and private schools. The rationale behind this categorization is the regular operators are mostly government or charitable foundation home chains. For example, one of the largest preschool operators, Sparkle Tots, is funded by Singapore People's Action Party Community Foundation. But on the other hand, private and semi-private operators are managed by private companies. So this distinguishes the 2 operator type. Okay, then for the child outcome measures, I include behavior problems. The parent, the primary caregiver, most of them are mothers, complete the behavior problem index. It includes some items related to internalizing problems, such as whether your child is too fearful or anxious, and some items related to externalizing problems, whether your child has a strong temper and loses it very easily. For the early academic achievement, we did standardized test on children while we visit the household. And we include letter word identification, which is a literacy test, and applied problems, which is a math test. We also include several child and family covariates in the analysis to control for the effect from those family and child variables. For the data analysis, first we perform propensity score matching to examine whether attending ECE programs was associated with child outcomes. I will talk more about this method later. Then we focus on the ECE attendees only and use general linear models to assess the association between hours and child outcomes. Okay, here is the result. First, we want to know whether attendees have better developmental outcomes than non-attendees. However, we cannot directly compare the 2 groups, as the 2 groups differ a lot in many child and family characteristics. And we have very unbalanced groups of attendees and non-attendees. For example, among the attendees, only 28% of them are 3-year-olds, but 70% of them are 3-year-olds among the non-attendees. And for ethnicity, 65% of them are Chinese. Among the non-attendee, only 32% of them are attendees. To solve this unbalancedness, we perform a propensity score matching to select a group of attendees and non-attendees that are balanced in varying family and child characteristics. So the figure here illustrates what the PSM does. And before PSM, you can see there is unbalancedness. But after PSM, we select 106 children from the total of 2,330 attendees. And we also select 106 from the total of 122 non-attendees. And now the attendees and non-attendees are very balanced. You can see they have similar percentage of each age group in the two groups of children. We not only balance sample based on age, we also balance them based on, the sample is also balanced based on their ethnicity, gender, maternal education, and family income, parental working hours, all the covariates I talked about earlier. So this is our balance sample. A total of 212 children are in this balance sample. And then we perform regression analysis to this balanced sample. And we found no significant difference between attendees and non-attendees in behavior problems or early academic achievement. So this is our first question. Then we move on to talk about then we focus on the ECE attendees only and analyze how hours are associated with their outcomes. And we found a very interesting inverted U pattern across all the four aspects of child development. So we can, this inverted U was found after doing a quadratic regression analysis. And the turning point appear between 35 to 40 hours per week. Okay, I will go back to this plot later because it's very important. Now I want to show you after finding this inverted U, because it's very interesting. No one has reported this shape before, especially in the context of behavior problems. So we want to make sure we are doing the correct analysis. We use another analysis technique called spline regression to further validate this association. And to do this, we calculate the inflection point from the inverted U, and we fit spline regression models consisting of two slopes. One slope for the short ECE hours, which is when the hours are below the turning point, and one slope for the long ECE hours, which is the hours after the turning point. And we found before the turning point, the associations are positive, and after the turning point, the associations are negative, and the slopes are all significantly different. One thing to note is ECE hours when shorter than 37 hours per week is not significantly related to internalizing problems, but it is related to externalizing problems. Okay, here are all the results I got for this paper, and now we can discuss why we found those patterns. For the behavior problems, as I mentioned earlier, it's only significant for externalizing problems. We think it could be because as children stay longer in the center, they may have more opportunities to observe externalized problem behaviors from peers because it's more observable. But for internalizing problems, it's more related to children's own temperament. So attending ECE might not impact them so much as compared with externalizing problems. As for the right part of the inverted U, we found more hours is actually associated with fewer behavior problems. At the beginning, it puzzled us a lot. But when we think more about it, we think it probably makes sense because as children stay longer in the center, they may be able to build better attachment relationship with teacher because they are quite stable. They stay in the center for a long hour and they do not need to go other places and experience other caregivers. And also, as children stay longer, the group size may be reduced because some of the children are already picked up. So teachers may be better able to attend to children's needs in a timely manner, which helps them to build better relationships. Another reason could be there could be reporting bias from parents. When children stay very long in the center, they probably just go back home and do the evening routine and go back to sleep. And parents may not be able to observe many behavior problems with them. Yeah, so these are the two possible reasons for the right part of the inverted U. For the cognitive development, this fully supported our hypothesis. And for the left part of inverted U, we think it's probably because of the structured learning we provide at the ECE centers. And also peer interactions may facilitate their development, so they score better in all the academic tests when they stay longer. For the right part of the inverted U, this is consistent with what has been found in the US. In the US, they found more than 30 hours, but here we found more than 35 hours. Children, like more hours is related to poorer achievement. We think this could be due to increased stress when they stay long. In the childcare centers, tea breaks is usually provided at 3 p.m. And after that, no food is provided. So children stay long may experience more fatigue, hunger, and boredom. So this might negatively affect their learning experience and also cognitive development. Okay, at last, I want to talk about the PSM analysis because the results is also surprising for us. We found no difference between ECE attendees and non-attendees in 4 aspects of the outcomes. This finding, but I want to emphasize this finding is only applicable to children from families experience low income because all our matched sample are generally low income families. And these results cannot be generalized to the whole Singapore population. Yeah, so this finding may suggest for those families experiencing low income, just supporting the family by sending their children to center care may not benefit them as much as we previously thought of. It could be maybe what we can do is we can also support the family by directly satisfy their family needs. And hopefully this can also help them help their children to develop better skills. There are several limitations for this study. First, we do not have a process quality measure, such as the quality of teacher and child attachment. So future studies, they can go down to the childcare centers and to do the observation so that we can know better what really happens in those hours and which caused this inverted U association. And no causal conclusion can be drawn from this study because we adopt a cross-sectional design and we cannot draw any causal link. Another limitation is we include only parental report for children's behavior problems. Future study can include teachers' report as well, especially when our children stay very long in center. And parents and teachers often observe children in different contexts. So this different context might elicit diverse behavior patterns in them. So if we can gather behavior problem from multiple reporters, we can have a better understanding of how the hours influence children's behavior in different contexts. In conclusion, we found this intriguing inverted U-shape associations, and there is a turning point at 35 to 40 hours per week. When the hours is below 35 hours, more hours is associated with more behavior problems but better cognitive performance. When the hours exceed 35 to 40 hours per week, more hours is associated with poor cognitive development but fewer parental reported behavior problems. Okay, there are two takeaway messages from this study. First, we think more resources are needed for children who stay longer than 8 hours per day in the centers. For example, we can provide more nutritional and cognitive support for them to reduce the stress they may experience. And we can also advocate for flexible working arrangement for parents so that children do not really need to stay so long in the center. And in my analysis, I also found family factors have strong association with child development, such as the maternal education and maternal distress. So future ECE research can study the two family factors and ECE factors together, because family is also important in children's development. Yeah, that's all. And I want to thank you so much for the time for listening to this talk. And we want to thank all families for their participation and for the SGList team to collect and code data. And this study was supported by grants from MOE to Prof. Yeung. This paper has been published, and you can access the paper via the link here. And also to find more about the SGList data publications and media reports, you can scan the QR code here or just click the website link to know more about this large project. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and colleagues from NUS. This has really been a very clear and informative presentation. I hope a lot of our participants here today have comments or questions to make. I see that our participants are quite a mixed group. So besides our SUSS colleagues and associates, we also have quite a number of early childhood teachers and center leaders here this morning, some of whom are our alumni. So hello and welcome back. Maybe I saw a couple of our students' names. I'm not very sure. So I would invite folks to use the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if you want to unmute and say something to the presenters. It doesn't need to be a question. It can be a comment. It can be just thinking aloud together, because these issues are not easy. And I just hope that this has provoked some thinking around the purpose of childcare and how we can do things better to serve children and families in Singapore. So I invite anyone who has a comment to just click on the raise hand icon. We can see who you are. There are also our friends from Indonesia who may be interested to say some things. You're most welcome to do so. Yes, Charlene. Go
Hi,
ahead.
good morning, Dr. Sirene. Sorry, my camera is not working so well, so I'm not turning it on. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you, Pierre, for sharing this research. I just wanted to share that I agree with children facing issues like nutritional issues in the center after the snack time, because some of them do stay till 7, so 7 to 7. And then after snack is served at 3 p.m., if they don't have another serving of milk. So because the younger children, they do have an additional serving of milk at about 4:30. But for children who do not have, so between the time of, let's say, 4 p.m. to 7, that 3 hours, they actually feel very hungry. And in the center, we are not able to provide any food for them at that period of time. So I just wonder if there are any other centers who have a different practice and realize that it's actually helping the children. Just very curious and wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, thanks, Charlene, for the question. I also appreciate the information you provide here. And also thanks for the observation, because we just do the research behind our laptop. We don't really have the opportunity to go down to the center and to know what those children feel and what they are really experiencing. And thank you for the information, which makes me make more sense of the findings we have here. However, unfortunately, I don't really know if there are any other practices. If the audience have some knowledge on that, maybe they can also speak up.
Yes, so if there are other teachers or center leaders in the midst here, I do see a number of you. You have something different to share, a little bit, or respond to Charlene's comment. This will be a good time. Jinghui, hi.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. To add on to what Charlene was saying, sorry. Yeah, to add on to what Charlene was saying, previously we do have a few children who stay till 7, and just one parent requested for us to keep lunch, like leftover lunch for their child, because they do stay quite far away from the center. So by the time they get home, it will be probably 8. It will be too late for the child. But there isn't a direct link between behavioral issue. I would say that whether we keep extra food for the children or not, I don't really see that relation at that point of time. But I do think that children who stay a little bit later in our center do form a better bond with us, and they do tend to like coming to school more than those who are on half-day programs, I would say. Yeah, and I also think that this research is very interesting, because at first I thought that, in Singapore we have preschool centers who run different programs. Some vouch that, oh, Montessori is the best for your child. Some do inquiry-based learning, and others just do like free play, like more of like international school vibe. But there isn't a clear outcome between the type of programs used in preschool. Yeah, so I think that's very interesting to see that inverted view thing. Yeah, so thank you so much for doing this research. It has really made me feel that, oh, actually, we teachers are doing a great job in school, to see that the inverted view. So it's really very heartwarming. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Yeah, also I want to add on that the positive association we found between hours and behavior problems when the hours is below 40 hours, it should not be very concerning, because children at this age, they are trying to regulate themselves. They are learning the self-regulation, all those abilities. And during this period of time, they may trying out different methods to regulate their emotions. But after they grow older, there is really a decreased trend of behavior problems.
I see we have NIEC colleagues amongst us as well. Most welcome to speak up. Also, maybe from MOE.
I see one hand raising here. Is Kasu?
Yes, one of our graduates. Go on,
Hi.
Is.
Hi, good morning. First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to say that this has been a very insightful research, and thank you so much for sharing the findings and the discussions. They're very contentious, but very, very applicable for us as well, so that we know moving forward whether or not sending children to childcare and what are benefits, what are some of the contending issues that we should be looking out for. But I just wanted to mention about perhaps the behavioral issues and the long hours that the children stay and some of the negative relations that we are seeing. It could be related to and linked to teachers' accreditations, because I'm currently from MOE kindergarten, and some of the children who are they are actually enrolled in the K-Care program, which is essentially like a childcare for them. And I just found out that the teachers there do not have EC background, and they do not have any diploma or degree in early childhood in early childhood program. So then we were wondering, how are they equipped with knowledge and skills and toolkit to actually help children, particularly children with special needs, because there are children with special needs inside the classroom and they need to learn to regulate. And you were saying that children, they are learning to regulate and they are learning to manage their, especially the big emotions, if they do have, I mean, we all have our bad days. So who else better to facilitate and to guide them through than the teachers around them as well in that particular moment in the childcare? So I am wondering, if the teachers would only have the K-Care certificate, are they then equipped with the knowledge to regulate and to actually have this toolkit to handle children and help them to guide them through the big emotions, the strong emotions, or any behavior problems that they see, or to manage the classroom? So perhaps that could have been another factor that we can look into in the future as well. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I totally agree with you. The teacher's expertise really plays a big role here. Yeah, and for the and also emotion regulation is the key part. Because I think one theory, it says the emotion is the core, like because children learn better when their inner world is feeling safe. As when we think back on the attachment theory, when they have a secure base, they are willing to explore more, and when they can get some immediate comfort from the caregiver, they may be able to calm down and refocus on the learning and the play activities. And also, I think there are some resources. I know there is a emotional intelligence center at Yale. They have a ruler. The tool is called ruler, so it helps children to better recognize emotions and express emotions. If we can also add the training to both educators and also include this in the curriculum, I think it will be very, very good to see the maybe it helps with children's mental health and their emotional well-being.
Yes, I see another hand. Ray, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. So sorry, my camera was off for today. Thank you so much, PUA, for the sharing. Just to give some context, I'm working as a associate site at Behavioural Community Service as an intervention. So I'm just wondering, when we look at the relational model, has there been any discussions of maybe looking at preschools that has multiple teachers? So, for example, one consistent teacher, right? Because we look at the K-Care and MOE kindergarten model, they might spend different hours with a different set of teachers. And I was just wondering whether that could have affected in terms of secure hands, in terms of relational model, secure attachment, whether that could have been a factor that maybe would have made the data a little bit clearer, so that we can kind of like understand if relations side truly have such a huge impact. Yeah. Again, a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Ray, and thanks for attending the talk. Ray is previously honored student from the lab I'm currently in, so I know him from earlier. And thanks for the question. I do feel we need to look into the more ECE factors. Currently, we only have the hours, but what happens in those hours are in the current data, we don't really have those information. But if we can have the process quality measures. I think like Singapore childcare really need those kind of research, and I think the next step we can get more fundings to fund those research and to study this better for the SG list, because the focus is on the family. So we ask the parents to complete like how many hours their children stay. So we don't really have the detailed information about the centers, like the staff and how many staff are caring for one children. Those information we really need to go to the center and ask the teacher to report. It will be more accurate.
Thank you so much. Now, this is a fantastic piece of research to at least open the gates for more research opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And I see Bing Luan's hand is up. Bing Luan. Bing Luan, you may unmute.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for this opportunity of hearing about this research. I agree very fully that this is just to open a gate for some further thoughts about center opening for such long hours from 7 to 7. In fact, I think from the child's development's point of view, whether 12 hours in total, really it is beneficiary, we do not know. I'm so glad that this research opened up a chance for us to really question if some relations between long hours and cognitive gains can be established. That might be good for us to really do a review on such long hours for the childcare opening. Now, this is point 1. Point 2 is regarding the research itself. I am quite concerned about the category that researchers presented just now. The first category is the MK and the AOP. Now, I always think that the kindergarten scheme or the kindergarten structure and the childcare structures are actually quite different. So perhaps for the research in future is to break it into the 4 hours kind of program or staying in the center versus the longer hours. That might be the data collected might be more accurate in that sense. Point 3 is really looking into the program time per center. Now, the regulation said the program time is from 9 to 5. So the question here is before 9, what are the centers generally doing? And after 5, what are the centers generally doing? Now, from what I know, many centers actually combine classes before 9 or after 5. So the question is talking about the interaction between teachers and the children. That may not provide a very accurate data if you just simply find out the numbers of how long the child stay in the centers. It could be 9 to 5 is very quality time, good relationship, good interaction. But before 9 and after 5, maybe the data collected will be very different. And as researchers pointed out, this is simply based on the survey or survey form they're given out and asking for certain figures or certain feedback. The quality of each center, such as the curriculum style, such as child teacher ratio and so on and so forth, does affect the issues about behavioral, the issues about the cognitive. So I just simply want to point out that for this research, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's very, very general. It just simply opened a window for us to have the opportunity of maybe in future asking for more fun and look into something more specific that concerning the child's development. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the comments. I think a lot of information are very useful. And for the operator tab categorization, I agree with you. Some children from MOEK, they only stay 4 hours, and I also found this in the data. The decision of making the 2 category, the first reason is we want to we don't really want to study this factor. We want to control for this factor, and we have 2,000 plus children. However, we only have about I don't know whether I can remember it clearly, but maybe around 200 MOE attendees. So if I only take them out, there is another unbalanced data issue. So I decided to group the MOEK and the AOP together because of their like government and charitable support funded organizations, and which is quite different from the private schools. That's the biggest rationale. And we also take some time to think how we should code this variable. Yeah, and I do agree, like later more refined analysis is needed to have better understanding. Yeah, and the next comment, sorry, what's the next comment is about?
I think it was generally about quality.
Oh,
Quality, like
right,
before
quality
9, after
time, yeah.
5, the interactions, the quality of the children's experiences.
Yeah, I think it's very context related, because when I do the literature search, I found the quality measures is only it's not differentiative towards whether it's a program time or it's outside the program time. So I think it's, especially in the context of Singapore, we need to have 2 types of quality measure. One is during the like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. when there are structured learning and organized play, and also before 9 and after 5. We need to have 2 quality coding scheme, yeah, to help with those research. Yeah, and also I'm not sure whether Prof Ding and Prof Yeung want to add on here, because I have been talking very much now, and if you have more insights, then maybe you can all speak up.
Xiaopan? I do have something to say, but Xiaopan, go ahead first.
Okay, so I actually have a question about this reminds me to think about you did the analysis about like starting hours, right? So so you find actually to see whether my memory is correct or not. So this is beyond this paper. Actually, BU did more analysis, for example, about the school starting times. So for example, whether the parents send the children to the school at 9 o'clock or before 9 o'clock or after 9 o'clock. So actually those who send the children like regularly to the 9 o'clock, and pick up at around the 5 p.m., their cognitive development is the best, right? Yeah, so we are exploring whether the reason like behind this. Yeah, so we understand like before 9 a.m. or after like 5 p.m. they don't have the regular classes. Yeah, but this 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. actually is the time is quality time. Yeah, so maybe like preschools can we can discuss more about like whether it is needed like to like implement more quality time before 9 a.m. or after 5 p.m. for those children who needed to come to the school early or late. But I understand it is also very controversial. So yeah, so it is really good opportunities to talk with like educators and to explore together like how to implement this quality time for our children. Yeah, Prof. Yeah.
If I may add a few things, I just want to thank everyone for attending this.
it's so valuable to talk to the practitioners and educators about these findings. Just a few points I want to make. Number one, I think we're much more confident about the relationship between hours and hours in daycare and the cognitive achievement, because these are, SG Leads is the only nationally representative and large sample study so far. And we have worked very hard also to assess these cognitive development of children in both numeracy and verbal skills. So I think we need to take the results of these inverted U-shape between the hours in preschool setting and the cognitive development seriously. We do show that, and that is consistent with other literature and makes sense too. Before 35 to 40 hours, the hours we put in preschools are beneficial to children. But after that, you definitely see a diminishing return of whatever efforts that we have been putting in. And so this very long hours in daycare centers is something that I think as a nation we should take seriously about. We also, obviously, this is related to the parents' long workout. As PUA shows, we are the #1 work hours. Secondly, we do have information about teachers' qualification, number of staff, and ratios. And we have analyzed the 4 kinds of operators separately. Actually, those mostly in our analysis came out to be not significant. Certainly, we can improve all those measures much more. And that's something that we do not deny. But we also wanted to point out, PUS says that very clearly. We also looked at many family-related factors, which actually, in terms of the magnitude of the coefficients, came out to be very important. So, we don't blame. We can't blame everything on the daycare, and we can't put too much emphasis on what daycare is supposed to do. It's a collaboration between family and daycare to produce, and the government too, to produce a healthy, well-developed child. Number 3, I think we really do need to pay attention to what's happening in the daycare and preschool after 4:30, or at least after 5. My understanding is, other than not having snacks, it's also more or less free play situation. And also, most children are not allowed to go outside to play because my understanding is that there's not enough staff to look after children when they're outdoor playing. But if they are cooped up the whole day, 10 hours, 12 hours, indoors, and no structured and more programs for them, then that you could see that could become produce some problems, potential problems as well. So those are the 3 points I wanted to say. We need to pay attention to what's happening after 4:30 in daycare, and obviously provide more support. Why isn't it possible to give them another snack? For example, that doesn't seem like a very difficult thing to do. So thank you. Yeah.
So thank you very much, presenters, Prof. Yeung, Prof. Ding, and Biyue. This has been really, really interesting, and I hope that everyone here will go away to think more about the issues at different levels, whether it's at the policy level, whether it's for future research, whether it's your own practice in day-to-day practices, to really look at whether things can be improved for our children and their families. I don't think we will be able to reduce work hours nationally anytime soon. But we certainly hope also that the landscape will change as workplaces offer, employees with more flexibility at their workplace and so forth. So without delaying this further, I know we've been together for an hour already, and it is a very precious Saturday morning. I know you all have different plans today. We are just so grateful to hear from you and to have you join us today. So until the next time, our next lecture, do join us again. And thank you very much to our colleagues from NUS.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you to
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Have a
If
good
you could
weekend.
Thank you
spend a
very
little
much.
bit of time to just give us a little feedback, that would be very helpful to us.